Okay, welcome to my AMA. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you to a majority of my community for being normal, for being respectful, and engaging with honestly what should be a privilege, access to anyone, whether it's me or you or again anyone. When they put that sort of ask me anything, it's not always like literally ask me anything. So thank you guys for playing within the bounds, except for maybe two people, and that's fine. Two out of like 100 or so, I think. I'm not even sure. So I picked out quite a few of them. There are quite a few overlaps, I believe, or they would be. Um, but I kind of bunched them together. And if there are too many overlaps, and I missed that, I think I'll just skip past them. So I will be reading out the name and then the question, and then hopefully giving a decent answer. So let's begin. We have from Lardman. Do you feel 3v3 Arena has been a net positive in terms of content quality? And I think the answer is definitively yes. Um, so, two key things there: net positive and content quality. I think one of the biggest boons of having three is that I can play with both of my duos. Brian and Mario have somewhat contrasting personalities. We're all good friends, and to have both of them, if you're aware of like comedic duos like the straight man and like kind of like the goofy character, right? Mario lands into his role, Brian lands into his role. Sometimes they can change hands and whatnot. And I guess my skill, and I'm going to be very candid in this video, um, is being able to read the situation, and try to deliver as best of a response as possible. Sometimes they might not have like the best energy, and so the other can take over. And so basically, what I'm saying is the diffusion of responsibility, both in the game and out of the game, has led to, I would say, a better production process, which leads to better content quality, arguably, because human workers, human output. As for the game itself, I think so, just because we can do a couple different combinations. I think the battles can be very visually confusing, but we're saying net positive here, so let's just go with that. This is a huge topic, and I could get into a lot of the nuance, but I won't take too long. So, from Utopia Any Percent, great name by the way. They ask, do you have a job alongside being a creator? If so, what is it, and how do you handle both? So I put this pretty much at the top, to not at the very top, otherwise it'd be too vain. To at least address this, because a lot of new viewers might not be familiar. I work a contract job at Riot Games. All opinions are my own. I am not a full-time Rioter. This is in no way affiliated with Riot. I don't work on League of Legends, and I can't tell you what I work on. So that's it. I work that's a 9 to 5, and then I do my arena stuff. Okay, from Dr. Vodka. So far, what is your personal favorite build you've done in Arena? Ignoring video performance and going purely off what you found most fun since the mod release. This is a hard one because in terms of like videos released, we haven't really released some of the strategies that I've played and failed at. A lot of like the impregnator builds, right, where you do like the non-stop stunning and stunning, like Zac, right? Like those ones are fun. Ram is like Odyssey. So Mystic Reverb tends to be one of my favorite concepts. It probably is just a Nivea skilled sniper. I was a Nivea main 14, 15 years ago when I was 12. And I love Nivea. I love control mages, and so skilled sniper is like you have to be good at it. You have to be so skilled, and it is so silly. I love it. So let's just go with that one. But there are quite a few good ones. Okay, Jakesta the Bakesta asks, you've already had some of the craziest runs I've watched. 251 stat level, insane high roll augments, wild builds. Curious about your thoughts on that perfect game, in quotes, mega high roll fortune, everything lining up, etc. What would be the perfect game for you? That is such a tough question to answer because there's so many things. I would love to play against 5 teams of 3 melees and play Vayne with a Yumi on me, and then the third player maybe it doesn't even load into the game or just plays Teemo and sits in a corner. I would want Now You See Me with the slated changes we saw in PB of a 0.5 cooldown per portal, which means that you could just go portal, portal, portal. Get maybe Reaper's Toll and all like the anything to do with kiting, because I feel like that was such a fun build that I didn't pay off perfectly, that I could definitely enjoy the more sweaty side. Now for silly, probably Nico with Trickster Demon sending the homing missiles. They nerfed the W cooldown thing where it ticks down while the W's actually out. That one's cool with augmented power and reality fracture and maybe pyro. So when it blows up, it just, you could get Clown College with mirror image, Clown College, and Trickster Demon on Nico. Lets you send your clone, your W clone, and actually blow them up for 20% the thingy, so yeah, that would be nuts, because on demand clones that are homing, essentially homing, if you just aim it, yeah, that's nuts. So maybe let's go with that one. Victor asks, from the places you traveled, which one was your favorite and why? LA, by far LA. You could say recency bias, but I am biased. I mean, I've been to like Korea, Japan, China, bunch of places in the US. North Carolina, Virginia, New York, New Jersey, Washington, California, Orlando. There's so many random places, and out of all of them, even like I've been to Mexico, Turks Caicos, the Dominican Republic, the Bahamas. So many places out of all of them. I like LA. I don't like the city. I don't like the driving. I like what it has to offer there. Now, if you're a content creator and you're not in LA or Texas, you're kind of at a disadvantage in North America. So I like to think, between Washington and well, I'll probably pick LA. Also, because I'm biased, I really enjoy the Riot Games campus. It is awesome. That's all I can say. It's awesome. I love their food. So yeah, I'll go with that one. So Durandal asks, what do you think Riot should focus on for Arena's future? Strictly my opinion. You know, I would say something like I might just skip. I'm gonna skip this one in case. Let's just say like maybe patching up some issues. Who knows, right? But personal opinion. Matthew K asks, what arena augment slash prismatic item slash mechanic would you bring into SR if you could? Like what they did with Overflow or Diamond Tip Spear to Hex Optics? Good question. Good question. I like the idea of like mega items, like a huge item that you can build. So I'd say something like, what if you could combine two big legendary items, let's say Triforce and Sterix Gauge, for like a huge cost? Like I'm talking like 7,000, 8,000 gold, and you can get like a prismatic level effect. You know what I mean? So, um, Sterix Gauge and Triforce, let's just take those, turns into like a Define Sunder Turbo Chem Tank thing. You get Mundo's passive, and you get like this huge pre-mitigation healing thing. Like obviously you gotta scale the numbers up. Something like that would be pretty cool. Pretty cool. I mean, obviously the issue is balance. Balanceable is not a thing. So Josh Worthwhile asks, what are the results you've seen from holding up random items in videos? Has it actually helped by a reasonable amount? So if I wanted to finally explain this to you guys, I have had a very particular strategy for engagement. And it's funny because it loops into this one. You'll know what I mean in a moment. Honesty is a really, really powerful thing. Now, full honesty all the time, like Jon Snow, is actually a very bad thing, or can be a very bad thing. Just enough honesty such that the audience views you to be a reliable narrator and maybe feel as if they're on your side and that you're giving them things, in a way like a performative honesty, is extremely effective as a creator to develop rapport with the viewer. Now, there are times where I will absolutely do engagement bait, but the fact that I tell you, and it's people are very petty and they'll read into things very quickly because they're like smart enough to realize that you're doing it, but not smart enough to realize why and not be take offense because they're petty as fuck. So keeping that in mind, I put this into place a long time ago where I would intentionally do engagement bait, but I tell you why. I would just tell you that I'm doing it. Because what the fuck are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? You're probably going to watch anyway. The reality is, when I do any of these things, provided that I'm performative enough, and I don't always have to be, or just straight up honest enough, people will kind of play along and they'll be like, oh, that's fun. Like I'm part of the joke. I'm part of like the thing, like algorithm comment or looks inside or any of the random memes that spontaneously pop up. I'm knitting my hog until I whatever, the stupid Gen Z shit that we basically have to co-sign in order to get any amount of engagement. What I'm doing with like the holding things up was the point was nothing. The point was someone will think there's something, and even if they understand the trick, which is to bait engagement, if they say anything about it, then they're automatically helping me. So the idea is we want to take advantage of how many people think they're smarter than us and just, try to bait it out. Because even them hearing what I just said, to think they're smarter than us, it automatically triggers like the fucking, oh, I'm mad, I want to say something, right? Which is the sad reality of content creation. There's a lot of like, it doesn't have to be an us versus them thing. We could all be on the same team, but there are a lot of people who are already primed to, let's say, be mad or like have a vendetta against me, or like not like hate watchers, right? There's already a huge population of people that are ready to do that, and it's not like I want to tip more people into that category. It's more like if they're going to be there to begin with, we might as well get something out of them. You know what I mean? So if any, funnily enough, and I'll give away the secret, if anyone actually wants to hurt a channel, the best thing you could do is not comment, not even dislike. Don't even do that. Just click the not interested button and click off. But there are a lot of people who think that their opinions are so fucking important that they'll actually tell us, and they might even hit the dislike thinking it does something. In reality, it just helps. Controversial is actually really good. You want people to engage. If you click any button other than the three dots and not interested, you are helping us. So, in a way, us holding, or me holding random items up, it's to get that. It's to trigger some sort of reaction. I don't mind telling you, because what the fuck are you gonna do about it, right? You would have to do what I just mentioned, which is to piss off and not say anything. Which is totally, here's the trick. It's totally fine by me because I don't have to hear you. You now don't incur any emotional debt on my part. Because in the worst case, someone like, actually not in the worst case, I guess like in a better case, they say something aggressive or angry, or they're mad about me, whether it's holding up items or saying what I said here, and then they help my channel. Like, thanks. Like, it might be annoying for me briefly, being incur the emotional debt, like I said, but it helped me, and it didn't do anything for them. It might have arguably been worse for them because they're the kind of person who can't control their emotions. So, yeah, basically the creator always wins, and people don't like hearing that, but that is the truth. That is the absolute truth. When it's my job to do this and it's not your job to be an asshole or like be annoying or write like a paragraph psychoanalysis on me, it actually isn't productive for you. So yeah, that's the way I see it. I could be wrong, but I've applied this for like almost a decade now, and I would argue that it has absolutely helped with engagement. In a world where I am not actually the most interesting person ever, it actually does help to do a tiny little bit of engagement bait, and sometimes rage bait. You know what I mean? That's what they call it. So long-winded answer. I know it might not answer your thing perfectly, but that's like the overall overarching strategy that we have, and that's why you'll see me do random things, even like the jingle jangle and shit, right? Okay, what is the champion you think deserves a rework the most, and how would you rework them? I was originally gonna ask something funny, Mimi, but I think this question has a far more interesting question. I would probably, I don't know why I added this question. I'll go with a quick one. Maybe we can update some of the older characters like Nasus and whatnot, and retain the thematic, I guess, of stacking. I really like infinite stacking. Shyvana recently got the rework. Smolder's kind of like a thingy, and Asol got like the infinite stacking. We could do something with Nasus. It could be like something similar to Asol with like the E. If they stand in it, you kind of like generate and stuff. Maybe have like AP builds become available with the scaling. I don't know. I'm sorry. I it's too late to think about this, but I could give a better answer in the future, maybe. Especially for the main and second. Oh, sorry. FL. That was from Stumpy the Gnome. Thank you, Stumpy the Gnome. This is from FLMC. Especially for the main and second channel, do you ever plan to make videos about different game modes, or perhaps even different games? Maybe. The reality for creation is you cannot get outside of your niche. No matter how many loyal viewers there are, they are actually the extreme minority. The people who are willing to comment are a subset of a subset of a subset. So like already, when you put a video out there, you're choosing from the people that get the impressions, and from those people, the people that click on the video, and from those people, the people that watch the video long enough to like hit like ads and whatnot. And then from those people, kind of sideways, is like who's willing to like engage, and commenting would be part of that. So it's a setup, a setup, a setup, a setup. And so the people that say like, "Oh, we'll watch anything you put out," like I appreciate that. I appreciate the intentions behind people saying that, but no one actually will honor that. There'll be maybe like 10,000, 20,000 at most, which is not a small number, but is not a livable number for the team size that I have. Um, so the short answer is no. The long answer is no, but like with extra reasoning, which is kind of like no, but we can try and take stabs at things. Um, okay, from Opus X, what's your hobbies outside of gaming? What's your favorite food dish? Thank you for asking this question. I really enjoy walking now and exercising when I get a chance to. I like cooking, which kind of segues into the favorite food dish. My favorite food is Korean steak tartar or tear. It's called yuke, and Yukhoe would be the anglicized way of typing that. It's like white people steak tartar is like very salty. You eat it on crostinis and stuff, but the Korean one is like very smooth. It's a little bit sweeter. Um, I don't know how to describe it. It's like candy, dude. It's like candy. Okay, if you can imagine beef and candy having like a child, not sweet like that though. Just the feeling of eating it, I guess. I don't know. Feels like I'm guilty for eating it because it's so good. Okay, from Chaos L, what are your future gaming plans? The arena is working well so far, but you might run out of ideas in a few months. It would be cool to see your tryhard personality in other games. So this kind of ties into the thing I mentioned earlier. I don't really have too many future gaming plans. I've been burnt out for maybe 2 years now. When you say run out of ideas, like we've run out of ideas for the most part, like the spectacular ones. I have to think daily to like, I look at a champion, it's crowd favorite or bravery, and I'm like, let's do that. Let's just, we'll get into that in a bit. My tryhard personality is reserved for my job at Riot now. If I need to focus on anything, I'd rather focus on something fruitful. And playing tryhard games is way past my time. I'm 27 now, and you know, once you're like 20, dude, like you should just be ready to pay your fucking bills. Like if I can kind of tell when people talk at me and they don't pay bills because it bleeds through. It's like, sorry, I'm not saying. Oh, wow, my headset turned off. I'm not saying that about you. I would just mean like in general, there's like a particular attitude where I feel like it would be nice to just play games all the time and not care and just try hard at games, but I cannot expend that energy. And I think people project onto me a little bit where, you know, they think like, oh, you would do so well or you would enjoy this so much. It's like, no, I wouldn't. The one thing I enjoy the most in life is being very productive with my career. I am too much of a workaholic. So honestly, maybe I should take you up on this and just play some other games and yeah, but it wouldn't be responsible. Okay, from TJ, how long do you actually tend to play Arena for each day? Do you play for a set amount of time, or does it depend on games you get before you decide to call for the day? It's a little bit of the latter. When we don't stop until we get enough for the day or the week or whatever. If I need a backlog for the next 3 or 4 days, I will play until then. So I do my 9 to 5. Sometimes I have to stay in a little bit, or like I want to finish a task and I stay until like 5:30, 6, maybe even 7 o'clock. My latest day, I think I stayed till like 8 because I was like really enjoying my work. So I just like I'm gonna finish all this, and then immediately after I try to eat, shower if I need to. If I'm feeling like fucking wrecked, I need to wake up. Maybe sometimes I nap, but I basically immediately go straight to arena. Afterwards, that's gonna take like 4 or 5 hours. That takes me into the night, into midnight. Sometimes I finish even like 2 or 3 a.m. on work nights, and then I get up and I do my work, and yeah, it takes a long time. Okay, thank you, TJ. So thank you from Kubaru. He says, if you could play a mix of One for All and Arena 3v3, which champ do you think would be the most fun? Ziggs is actually really hilarious because you can create like infinite minefields. He's also buffed in Arena, and you can W other Ziggs. You can like because it's a satchel charge. You can even like Jarvan Q to each other's flags. I don't know. There's not like a perfect answer to this. Let's just go with Ziggs. He's fun. From Olivia Moonlight. First of all, I recognize the name. Also like Dr. Vodka and a couple. I think Joel's in here. Thank you for continuing to watch. I believe you are one of maybe it's like 3% female and other viewership. I really care about you girls and guys and whomever in that category, because happy Pride, just in general. So thank you for being here. I know that sounds weird. I'm not hitting on you. I don't know this person personally. I look at my demographics and I see 97% male and I'm like, oh my fucking god, fucking, So I'm just thank you. If you had any advice for yourself when you were first making arena videos, what would you say? And there's like an extra part here. I'm going to answer that first. Let's say probably just all the small quality of life things. I have like maybe like 30 changes that I've made to make my arena videos better. If you watch my old arena content, it was garbage. It was so bad. Like get the mic. I need a green screen still, Like I give so many small details. Just basically be a better creator, right? And like all the little details. I would also teach them how to edit a little bit better. I was a self-taught editor. I still am. I did it all myself. I worked really fucking hard. So I would give him a pat on the back and then I'd say, let's speed up some of this process. Let me help you. But for like mindset advice, what I would say is I would tell him you've got the right idea with the engagement baiting. What you need to do from here is you need to get used to instantly banning. Um, I still give too much patience and tries to a lot of people that don't deserve it, that really don't deserve it. I would just tell them, talk your shit and then immediately ban them. I do that now. They say some stupid shit, I talk my shit and I ban them. They don't even get a chance. They'll think that they can respond, but on YouTube it's called shadow banning. They don't even know they're banned. So they'll just keep feeding you comments and they won't even know that it's not there. It's pretty funny. I just tell them, do that right away. You'll feel way better because then you don't have to care as much. And then I tell him, assuming everything goes the same, I say, ironically, work less or be a little bit more efficient, walk more, and yeah, take your time. Take a little bit of time. Not like miss the daily. Don't miss your daily videos. Never do that. Never. Don't let any stupid fucking viewer or me or anyone tell you don't miss or tell you to take a day off. You can take breaks, right? But if you take a day off and you let your foot off the pedal, they're gonna take it from you. Like the reason we have this monopoly, younger me, is because we did so fucking well. I would tell him that. Like I might be the only person to ever tell him that because I would know what comes. But maybe that's like a too stupid, too cringe of an answer. But yeah, I would also tell him to make the second channel a little bit earlier, and hire the editors earlier. I could afford it back then. I definitely could have. I was too stubborn. I should have done that earlier. It would have been maybe it would have been an easier climb. Who knows? But yeah, I'm very glad that past me had the foresight to do kind of what I'm telling him to do right here, which is don't let your foot off the pedal. The only reason we're still here in the way that we are is because we didn't. We beat everyone else. So good job to me, I guess. But also take breaks. I did not take breaks. Breaks would have been better for some of the burnout moments because it forced me to eventually take like a day off. So yeah. Also, has it all been worth it? Yes, it has been worth it. It is like all the effects that working really hard can be reversed here, right? Like my physical health and whatnot. My mental health was like totally fine for the most part. I was just like, I got really good at not caring so much about individual comments, which is ironic because people wouldn't think that. They would think that I'm like the most sensitive person ever. It's like, no, I'm just doing a good job as a creator. Shit on. Just give them a little bit. They'll talk about you, and then you'll be in the mainstream forever because you'll always be in their heads rent free. It's been wonderful to have your double daily videos for what it's worth in a non-parasocial way. I hope you're keeping yourself sane and treating yourself well. Rough in these comment sections sometimes. I am very thankful for your content and the effort, not just from you, but from your whole team. Thank you. Thank you very much. From Cave's Quest story, if you could start content creation all over again, what would you do differently? I would accept more help from the people around me. I had too much pride, and I didn't want to have as much help from Boxbox or some of these other big streamers that I had like played with. Um, I distinctly remember asking Albert Boxbox to not host me because I felt like I didn't really like earn it, and I was worried that people would think I was a leech, which is ironic because people thought I was a leech anyway. So you know what? I should have just taken the help. You could have just jump started my career, and I could have just sucked it up. Back then, I definitely was very sensitive to these things. It would affect me a lot. I eventually got really numb to it, and I got very good at channeling that and turning it into content. If I could coach 16-year-old me, I'd say these things. I'd be like, listen, take all the help you can get, spend the next 2 or 3 years getting really good at just absorbing it all. Because at some point, kid, you're gonna get good at it. It's better if you do it early. And then it's just I would take the advice that like Heisendon gave me, which was like, bro, you can get like the fucking huge audience and then weed out the rest or whatever. And I'm like, shit, dude, I should have done that. I should have done that. If I could get like a 2K, 3K stream and then unroll like the rules and shit, oh, that would have been good. It would have been a huge jumpstart to my career. Yeah. And also, I would also not play Jarvan. I would tell him like, you like Jarvan, but you need to play more Nidalee and Zed and Yasuo. Because these are like the cringe male power fantasy champion kind of things of like the non-stop spells and super hard carry. Um, and you would get more viewership that way. Branding off Jarvan was so dumb. Yeah. Favorite chapter of your life, primary school, high school, from Gunter. Favorite chapter of your life, primary school, high school, college, maybe a time where you're practicing a sport or hobby. Um, is it bad to say now? I mean, I have a really cool job working contract at Riot, which I wouldn't give for anything really. And I have like two really successful channels. I'm having a great time now. It's a tough time, but it is significantly better than living with the low hum of financial insecurity when I was like young 20s. Like mid 20s, I did a fucking great job. I'm in my late 20s now, 27 onwards. These next 3 years, I'm going to be so productive if I can. And I set myself up hard. That was so tough. 23, 24, 25, 26, so tough. Fucking, oh my God. And it was so fun during 18, 19, 20, 21, just messing around with girls, having fun, seeing different girls and going to TwitchCon and shit. That was very irresponsible. Irresponsible as fuck. But maybe that one would come second. High school was tough. High school was really tough. It was instrumental in me becoming the kind of person I am now, but it was fucking hard. So yeah, I'd probably say now. From Aria, how do you go about trying to hit a certain build? Do you just spam the champion until you hit it, or blah blah blah? Don't have a clear goal in mind for builds. So basically, I'll answer this like kind of like TFT, where Dish Soap is one of the best players in the world, and it was described to me, like his skill was described to me as him having a deep understanding of the trait web. And I would say the same for myself. I have a super deep understanding of all the different connection points for different augments and different items because I've played so much, and so the way that relates to this build is I will first of all I'll spam champions at the game, but I will know like what the key indicators of the build hitting or the build being available are like, or what they are. So in that sense, I have a clear goal in mind for any build that comes, because even if I didn't plan for it when I chose a champion, if I see a certain augment and I can identify like, oh, we could do this, then that becomes the goal. But that wasn't like predetermined. You know what I mean? We oftentimes go into a game with like, yeah, we're looking for X thing. You know what I mean? And then I choose a champion. For this thing, it says how many matches does it take you on average to hit a build? Like 10 plus. Okay, we'll go with that. From Joel, he asked basically the same thing in the creation of arena content. Do you guys come spontaneously with the idea? So again, there are times where I'll spontaneously be like, oh, okay, we could just go for this one because I already am familiar. The chart or a spreadsheet is in my head. From Nefse or Nefke. How long do you think you'll realistically continue with daily content creation? And are there any ideas for your arena retirement? Maybe some variety games or RL streams? I'm not an interesting person. I think a lot of people will already have formed opinions about me as a person, whether they think I'm egotistical or whatever. And I think I'd argue like a huge amount of people would probably not care enough about IRL streams or like personality content. Um, I think people enjoy it or endure it insofar as there's gameplay behind it, but I am not vain enough to think that I'm interesting with IRL streams or just talking. To be fair, there are a lot of people that have expressed that they really enjoy just hearing me talk, or like they want podcasts and stuff. I'm not neglecting that portion of the audience. What I'm saying is there aren't enough of you guys to warrant me, branching off into variety or IRL. I do that thing as like a side or for like extra content on my stuff. So yeah, I'll probably just not do anything once arena. If I retire or something, or let's say it goes away, or maybe I get tired of it, I'll just fuck off. I did a good enough job with my channels. I can just go work instead. I actually really enjoy being the grunt 9 to 5 more than content creation, no matter how much more fruitful content creation might be, if it were to be. From I'm not gonna read that name out. Are you happy with everything in your life? If not, what would you most like to change, and what already brings you the most joy? So I would say I'm on like the upswing. I'm very happy with my career, which is closely tied to my mental health. Um, if I'm not productive, if I'm not working all the time, I don't feel like I'm happy. I'm happy when I'm tired because it means I'm doing stuff generally. What I would like to change is mm, maybe I'd like to be better at cooking. So I can feel better in the day. Like I like burnt eggs and I like put too much oil in my steak. I just wish I could take care of myself a little bit better. Um, Everything else I can pretty much do. Not like the biggest place I can clean up by myself, but I need to get good at that skill, dude. And it makes me a little bit more of an attractive partner, to be honest, which is kind of relevant for me now at 27. I feel like I'm gonna miss the train if I don't get a life partner soon. Um, so I mean, men don't really have as pressing of a biological clock. So I think, I mean, every time I've spoken to people about this, they always go, "Oh, but you have so much time." It's like, no, I don't. The reason why I'm so successful is because I never feel like I have enough time. It burns me at both ends, which is bad, but it burns me at both ends, which is great for productivity. I don't want to be like, and this is gonna come off terrible because it probably is. I don't want to be like the rest of you guys. I don't want to like develop a little bit every year. I want to like explode with improvement every year, year from year. And I have. I want to improve and develop more skills and acquire more wealth, every year over year, and it has to be better than the last year, and it has. Let's go. Cuz to me, if I'm not done by like 30 or 31, I feel like I fucking failed. And I'm sorry if that really screws with a lot of you guys, but you have to understand that I come from a ridiculously like stressful I don't want to blame my parents too much on this, but it's like they put a lot of expectations onto me in the past and they dialed that back quick. They dialed that back like 22 or 23 a couple years ago. But it never left my body. It never left my brain. Like I can't get rid of this mindset. I don't even think I would want to. It drives me like hard, dude. I fucking in that sense I have the biggest ego you'll ever find. Like I am not okay with one expansion. I'm gonna take the natural and then I'm gonna take the high yield and then I'm just gonna overwhelm you with like 200 supply in 10 minutes. Like I need to do that. That brings me the most joy to know that I'm doing really fucking well. Like I'll share a little bit, and just to be honest, like sometimes I'll look back at maybe some of my high school like peers. Like sometimes LinkedIn will share them with me. I'm like, what the fuck? How does it even know? Um, and I'll just be like, I'm doing better than them. You know, it's like the pettiest shit ever. I should grow the fuck up. But I'm sharing this with you so that you can understand. Like, first of all, I'm self-aware. I'm self-aware of these things, right? And not a good thing. And I wouldn't bring that up in conversation with them. I wouldn't just be like, oh, I'm better than you, right? But in a way, I'm thinking like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, dude, fuck yeah. Me taking a gap year and dropping out of university, that was like the biggest risk, like fucking ever. These people, they were so smart, so fucking driven. They were better than me, 100%. And I was always like, oh, dude, I'm like on this crazy path. I don't know if I'm gonna succeed. And I'm like, oh, dude, I know I'm doing better than all of them now. Let's go, you know. And I'd be happy for them. I'm happy for them if they're doing well and we're doing well. Everyone's good. But I never got rid of that little bit of ego that compares me to the people around me. The thing that I've had to struggle with is not letting that bleed into my relationships and personal relationships, and it has 100%, can easily admit. And so that's honestly one of the things I'd want to change is just grow the fuck up. Just grow up and like ego is a huge motivator, and isolating that motivation component without, you know, having the being a piece of shit part has been like very tough, but something that I work on year after year. And so that's just a little bit about me. Um, I think I'm hoping by the time I'm 30, I mellow out a little bit more and stop doing so many comparisons in my head. But until then, I'm gonna be the biggest competitor, right? Like silent or otherwise. And just fucking I need to make sure I acquire enough means to like finish around 30 or 31, have a life partner, have some kids, and raise them to not be like me, you know, maybe take the good parts, right? Be passionate, be driven, but don't let that be all consuming and stuff. Who knows, right? I don't think I'd be a good father, but that probably makes me a better father than most because I'm scared to death of being a bad father, and I would do my absolute fucking best to make sure I am. And I'm very self-aware of these things. So yeah, that would be one of the things that brings me the most joy. It's the future, the prospects of the future being like really good, you know. So it makes me joyful to think about like, oh man, I can't wait to cash out on all this work and have like a wonderful life, a wonderful fucking life with two beautiful children who will never want for anything, and will have a father that hopefully pays attention to them a lot. And you know, if I don't have to work by then because I would have retired if I did a good job, okay, you know, um, yeah, it brings me a lot of joy to think about that. So we strive towards that. At Nick says, "What are games you enjoy outside of League, and do you also enjoy the regular mode of SE2?" I enjoy a lot of variety games, a lot of party games. I played some today. Yeah, like Goose Goose Duck or party games, okay, and tabletop games. I don't really enjoy the regular mode of SE2 as much anymore. It's too competitive. Ominous Fox says, if you could, without concerns over viewership, would you do more variety content, or do you think that you stick with Arena League regardless? If you could do other games, what would you stream? Just a bunch of tabletop games and card games and whatnot, like Code Names, Wavelength, Villainous. You know, I actually streamed some today. Just things that don't require my hands to move. I have to I have a time limit on that. So okay, Vanille1 asks, if viewer numbers wouldn't change at all for the worse, what would your personal ideal video schedule look like for a week? Like how would a week look like? Just upload the most fun match of the day. Would you reset for specific stuff you would want to show off, or would you maybe tone it down and enjoy your more free time doing something else? If low effort pulls, same good numbers. If I could stay the same number, I would just post like any random shit that I thought was funny, and that's like a way lower standard, and it would be a lot better. But I give you guys the cream of the crop, or what I view to be the cream of the crop, because that's the standard we set, and that's why we win so often. Okay, in terms of content, I mean, not like the actual game. Balpreet Sings asks, what do you think is a skill that will help consistently win in Arena? I would say similar enough to the other one. Get familiar with the trait web, like all the items. You got to know them by heart. get familiar with all the augments, even small things like taking Flee replacers to tailor to make sure that you don't have those options, and so your pool is a lot thinner and you can, be more likely to hit certain things. Small details like that, they matter, knowledge checks. But what I would say is like, get very good at communicating with your team. If you play solo, spam ping like plants. Like do your initial fight and then spam ping to go get plants. Like attrition is huge in arena. If you just hit the plant more, you're gonna do a good job. Like you will just win. So, from Sam Cuckoo, my question has always been simple for you. You pride yourself on your skill in arenas, and you most certainly have the videos proving that you are very skilled at the game. So what would your advice be to an iron player playing arenas to improve their mechanics? So arena can be very visually distracting and you can get very overwhelmed, but by dialing in on like 1v1s or 1v2s or 2v1s, having isolated moments where you can watch your opponent and see what they're doing and then inculcate that into your decision making, that would be like honestly so powerful. And that's what I do all the time. And whenever I play any new game or want to learn anything, it's just you look at some patterns that happen and then you remember them and then incorporate that into your game. So let's say you play like into like an ADC comp. They have like an ADC support and a tank. And you notice that when you go forward, you just get kited all the time, right? Like, oh, then maybe you're stepping out of line from your teammates. You got to remember that. So anytime you make a mistake, anytime you die, just retro it in your head. Replay that in your head over and over and be like, what could I have done differently? So I actually have a really, really good memory. This is one of the reasons, funnily enough, why I think I got hired, is because I have the ability to see what just happened in my head and play it back accurately. I can remember these things. In fact, it got me into a lot of trouble when I was younger because when I was like 12 or 13 playing League with my friends, anytime anything would happen and we'd argue over what happened, I was just simply correct, guys. I was just fucking correct. Because if they were going to recant the play back to anyone, they would say like, oh, but this would happen, and you could do that. I'm like, no, that's literally not what happened. I saw what happened and I remember it. And again, that's one of the reasons why I got so good, is because anytime I died or like a situation happened, I can put the pieces back where they were in my head and I could just replay the fight. And then I'd be like, oh, okay, from this point, you could do this instead, right? And this would have arguably happened, assuming perfect play. And that's why I got good. So if you can develop that skill to just keep retroing in your head, you should do that. And then evaluate from like the base up. So it's like, okay, who's got how much health, who's got what CD. Like, good news is you can go into the replay now and you can actually just do that. You can just check it, and then imagine the game in your head, assuming perfect play, that kind of stuff. That might be a little bit ahead of you if you're an iron player, but that's a life skill that you could take to any game, fucking any skill really. Like, not just games. And again, it's one of the reasons why I got hired, because I'm very good at doing that. I'm very good at it. Takes a degree of humility too, right? Especially if you are wrong and you remember wrong, just be willing to say like, oh, my bad. And I've done that plenty. Like, I wasn't right all the time, okay, hyperbole, but the times where I'm like, oh, you're right, sorry, I misremembered, let me try that again, that kind of stuff. So a bit of humility and develop good memory and replay skill in your head. Epic win. Fuck. Epic? Yeah. It's pronounced epic, I believe. How do you balance creating content for people as a job with creating content that you want to make that people might not want to watch while avoiding burnout? I do this. I do the third channel. This is my best compromise where I like doing any sort of community interaction that is like positive or could be interesting. So every now and then I do little projects like this or upload some garbage on my third channel. But I haven't avoided burnout. I'm severely burnt out. I'm done with this shit. I love going to my 9 to 5 because I don't want to fucking touch arena. So, but I probably miss it. Yeah, not a lot of people want to watch me talk about myself for like an hour, which is funny because they love chatting about how much they hate doing that, but in order to do that, you'd have to watch it. Like, why do you stay? So, from Sayla69, how do you balance ego when it comes to playing arena fun instead of ranked competitive? Did you struggle internally with pivoting your channel to it? Nope. if you know me well enough, you know that I never actually like rank. I was always it was always the delivery mechanism for creative builds. I was built for something like arena because I always try different things. I tried to push the envelope on different ideas like ingenious hunter or roa and Nidley, attrition, right? Even the Comet Cosmics theory craft. That wasn't just for fun. That was like, dude, this is genuinely really fucking good in the spots that it was. Back when intelligence was a rune and you could get 45%, you get like the 7.2 jump and then 6.6 W. It's like it lined up. Actually, a little bit less. 6.6 jump and then the W was like 5 point something. And so you would jump and it would be on cooldown. And you throw the W and then you splash with a 90% slow and you hit the comet. You weren't taking comet to take comet. You were taking sorcery because you wanted transcendence and then you wanted cosmic insight on the side. And the best keystone out of sorcery and inspiration was comet or phase rush in some cases. Because you couldn't use Spellbook, Omnistone, Glacial. So the best possible thing would have been Comet, and the 90% slow guaranteed it pretty much anyway. So people thought it was like, oh, you're playing it for Comet. It's like, no, you're dumb. You're dumb as fuck. Like you're playing it for the theory, which is to like play utility, get the splash going, consistently reposition, or sorry, constantly reposition, and never be catchable, and always set up your team, right? Like imagine you are playing a carry, and then their opponents, or sorry, your opponents enemy carries had a 90% slow on them like every 5 seconds. Like what the fuck? It was nuts. So that's just one example of how like when I played rank, it wasn't about my ego. It was about expressing some of the skills. Funnily enough, this is another thing that I think I got hired for, which is the ability to look at games in a different light. Not just like play the meta or whatever, more like define the meta or like find things, find utility in things that other people might not, and then break it. And then, boom. So yeah, like this is actually really funny. This all comes back to like some core fundamental things about me that set me apart from others, right? It's just like you could call that ego. That's just fucking fact, okay? Like from the beginning of time for League of Legends, I've always ever explored different alternate avenues. I knew how to play the proper way. I knew how to just build the meta shit. Anyone can fucking do that. Anyone can net deck and just be like, oh, this is the build that you run, and then you just play it. But there are a few people that can successfully try different and new things that might even be better. In fact, a lot of meta builds were fringe builds until they became more mainstream, like Victor with the Iceborne stuff, or like the tank Sunfire Iceborne on like Echo and all that. Like these people are so, oh my god, I'm gonna say you people, okay, but the general you. And if you're not part of this group, then don't get offended. You shouldn't. But if you are part of this group and I'll describe it, you're like the sheep that like not only play the meta, but you're like aggressively lobbying for meta. It's like you're so dumb, dude. Like you can play the meta, just shut your fucking mouth. Like don't say anything about like, oh, but you have to play this way. It's like, yeah, maybe if you want to win all the time, but like in order to actually like learn and carry something to the next thing, maybe try like slightly different alternate paths. Again, inculcate, right? Like just learn from that. Like what the fuck? You're gonna play 10 games of the same build for what? Rank points? Are you getting paid to get rank points? No, you fucking aren't, dude. Like not even challenger players make decent money. My fucking second channel can fart and it would make more money than some of these amateur players, dude. Like, so what are you doing it for? You're doing it for your stupid imaginary rank points, and like you're not even learning from it. But like your brain, your ego has to cope and say like, oh, I'm having fun. Are you having fun? Like, no, you're fucking not. You probably hated those wins. You were probably just relieved that you won instead of losing. Like, let's be fucking real. So I'm gonna do a little bit of a call out there. Don't be a meta fucking slave in mindset. You can be a meta slave in your gameplay, sure. Just don't be that person that leads to that. You better have fun or make money or both if you're gonna do anything. Like if you're not having either of those, what the fuck are you doing? You're just addicted and you're not even getting better at a skill. So like, come on, like, sorry, that's a bit much. I just wanted to say that. Let's move on. Zach Parrott asks a content question. I watch both arena channels and I often hear about certain champions playstyles that don't do particularly well, views engagement wise, far more than ones that actually do well. Can we get some insight / stats about what types of champions do well versus those that don't, with some examples? It would help to understand the creative process a little bit. Okay, first of all, let's establish that there are multiple dimensions across which people will evaluate a video as to whether, in terms of like what they'll use to determine if they want to click on it or if they thought it was good. Clicking on it is the most important thing. I don't care if they didn't think the video was good after, as long as they clicked on it and like watched. Let's say hit at least like 3 mid-roll ads, so like 8 to 12 minutes, depending on full runtime. We'll space it out accordingly. So those dimensions are something like thumbnail, title, and maybe like the broad appeal of the champion, right? These are the first things they might notice. If you're in that cohort of people who click on my videos regardless, I'm not talking about you. You are important, sure, but you are the extreme minority. In reality, content creation is like all about making sure your video stands out compared to the rest of like the home page. The home page has like 20 videos they'll show. Okay, first of all, you have to fucking get there, so you have to be in the trust bucket, and then so YouTube pushes you, and then you have to like win over the other ones. So the video itself doesn't fucking matter. The thumbnail and title matter first, and then the first 30 seconds, and then yeah, sure, the rest of the video, sure, right? You gotta pay it off, because then that creates loyalty, and then they want to come back, right? But you can't buy you can't win the lottery without buying a ticket. So we start with, try not to have a champion that is on the fringes, like Rek'Sai, right? Monster champions tend to not do as well, unless they're like your absolute niche. Lilia, kind of. Female champions that people can't really identify with, because whether they fucking like it or not, a lot of people see themselves in the champion or the archetype of champion that they play. And it turns out not a lot of like female champions actually play into the male power fantasy. You might have the sister champions, like China enjoys, like Irelia, Fiora, Riven, Camille. China's very different. China is like, I'm gonna make some broad statements, okay? All opinions are my own. They seem to really like strong female champions, sexy, and swords. Swords are just so good, dude. Like, oh my god, so good for them. While North America doesn't seem to like that shit as much. So Riven doesn't do well, Fiora doesn't do well, Irelia doesn't do well, Camille doesn't do well. But I would argue if I played those builds with a Mystic Punch or otherwise, or some crazy double cast, they would do well in China. Okay, I would bet like a good $50 on that. We've ran these data points like endlessly. So the other dimension that we're going to look at, other than like thumbnail, title, and champion, is spectacle. And this is related to thumbnail, related to whatever, like the title, and somewhat related to champion, as in working against the negative effects of champions. It's like, do you have something completely unique? So world record, super 5 augment exodia, 5 curses, 6 curses, maybe an Easter egg, maybe 30 million gold, 20 million AP. Basically, spectacle wins above everything. It could be a champion like Nami, it could be a champion like Yumi, and I'd argue that as long as you hit like the craziest 1 of 1 world record, your video will have a better chance. Now, there's fatigue, right? Because if you do that every other video, they're going to get bored of it. That's why we have an intentional system of just the roller coaster, right? We space out these big boy videos on purpose, because your dopamine circuits are fucking fried, and you guys care too much about whether or not you're seeing something too much. If you can't enjoy eating the same meal twice in a row, you might just be a spoiled human being. And a lot of my viewership comes from the first world, at least half of it. So a lot of you guys are fucking spoiled, let's be honest. So we will keep in mind a lot of those sort of things. Is this spectacular? Is this something that will catch someone's attention over other things? That's why A/B testing is really good. So we can choose up to 3 titles and 3 thumbnails, and we can test them all. So there are honestly way too many things that go into whether something goes well. It's capricious as fuck. At the end of the day, it's guesswork. Sometimes we're actually more often right than we are wrong, but that's probably because the baseline gameplay standard is like so high, and like it's more like we're right about the standard. We're not really right about whether it's going to break above it. It'll so we can guess if something's going to hit the standard, like 75k to 100k views. Sometimes we get blasted on that, right? Like, and then the moment we're wrong like that, we evaluate very quickly, right? Brian's very smart about that. But again, it's just guesswork. I've had like 1,000 data points at this point, maybe more with both channels. And if you see something happen 4 times, you're probably gonna guess that it'll happen again on the 5th time, assuming you control for everything. You do nothing different, right? But you could be wrong. Like it could work on the 5th time. Um, you just have to be a good scientist. So hopefully that's like somewhat insightful. You kind of have to assume that your audience is kind of fried. The difficulty there is balancing transparency. Honestly, you can engage in certain creative practices or creative practices that assume that the viewer is going to be fried, as long as you don't annoy the ones that aren't and that might notice you are accommodating the other side. So for example, if I were to give constant reminders over certain things, people might they're so fucking petty, but they might feel like their intelligence is being insulted. Personally, I'm like, dude, I don't know you, dude, right? Like, this is kind of what I meant by like smart enough to recognize the thing, but not smart enough to like understand why it has to happen and like look past it. I use the word petty because I'm very aggressive, but like I genuinely think some people think I should be accommodating only them, as in they think like, oh, I understood this, so you didn't have to include it. It's like, okay, but someone else might not have. You understand that? And like, there's a lot of churn there. Like, if only like 50% of the people that listen to the intro understand what I mean, it's not like 50% will leave. It's just 50% don't fucking stand, and so they're maybe more likely to leave, right? Instead of being more curious, they'll be like, oh, I don't get it. Like, what are we doing here? So we have to be very simple with our language, right? Like I simplify my language very, very quickly in my career to accommodate people that maybe don't speak English as a first language, or maybe those that do that don't really know big words. And like part of being an intelligent person is and a good communicator is being able to effectively get your ideas across to the side. And that doesn't necessarily mean using big words, right? Sometimes, I mean, I talk in a completely different way here. Actually, funnily enough, in this video, I would have spoken more like I normally would at like my job, for example. But to you guys, generally in my videos, I don't use like any big words because number one, the thing I mentioned about ESOL or like not understanding and communication, but also number three, people think it's cringe. They think that you think you're smarter than you actually are. And like one of the important things is I never present myself as anything other than just some dumb dude playing video games because that doesn't threaten anyone's ego. It doesn't. The moment you start trying to present that or it comes through, they're gonna think you're shit. You guys already think I'm cringe for this, right? Like they're gonna get that idea of you, and then they're gonna label you as such, and it actually does not help you as much. You want to be rent free in a less bad way. So that's at least how I see it. That's I'm going on tangents. Sorry, but all that to say, perception matters so fucking much when it comes to how we market our videos, and there are just so many small details that we will try to get just right to make sure we tick off as few people as possible, but or if we do, we get engagement from that and they're not willing, you don't want to push them over the edge and like get them to click off, you know what I mean? So like I won't rant for like 2 minutes at the start of the video. I'll give them like the engagement question, and then boom boom boom, they're there, and then the average view duration is about 12 to 13 minutes, something like that. Changes all the time. Okay, once we hit like 17-18 minutes, now we can assume that the only people left over are the ones that are probably a little bit more invested, right? They're the more loyal viewers, so to speak, and therefore we can get away with a 2-minute rant. You know what I mean? So perception is fucking everything. That's another dimension across which people will judge whether or not they want to stay. It's like the the personality and everything, and I don't have the best personality for streaming. I would argue I have like one of the worst, because I I mean, so I don't like dealing with idiots. I'm too aggressive. I'm also an idiot, so whatever. From UG Splat, do you think becoming famous at a young age has impacted you negatively, and if so, how? Absolutely. Not that I'm actually famous. I'm like a super niche micro celebrity, but it definitely has impacted me negatively. Like, I'll tell it to you like this: when I was 14 or so, I got Challenger. And I thought I was really unique in that sense. I'm a fucking 14-year-old. Which 14-year-old won't present themselves as, yeah, I'm a 14-year-old challenger? You'll notice no one ever calls themselves a 19-year-old challenger or a 20-year-old challenger. After 18, no one gives a fuck. Because the reality is, no one should give a fuck. I'll be honest with you. Like, they shouldn't. They shouldn't. Because, you can be personally proud of your achievement, but if people give so much of a fuck that you're like good at a video game, I can promise you that at those ages between, I don't know, like 10 to like fucking 25, especially for male, it will do you more harm for people to like revere you over your skill in a video game than good. Now, that's like super hyperbolic, super general. Let me explain. To me, getting the recognition for my skill level and seeing other people gain similar recognition, like the young challengers of today, I see them and I'm like, dude, that's getting to their head. That is that like stop telling them they're good because they're challenger. They're good. They're objectively really good at the video game. But just don't feed that. You know what I mean? Don't give them that crazy amount of validation. Because the likelihood that a young ego, I mean, you don't get to those high levels at a young age without being egotistical as fuck. Okay, like let's go off of that premise, assuming that to be correct, and that is a difficult one to prove, but largely speaking in my life, anecdotally, very true. Assuming that to be true, like you can see why I would land on this position of like, don't fucking give them anything, man. You can be friends with them and stuff, and like if they ask you, yeah, man, you think I'm good at the game? I'm like, yeah, I think you're really good at the game. But just don't be like, oh my god, you're a challenger, you're so fucking crazy. I've seen too many young stars, up and coming and otherwise, in my time. I'm 27 now, right? Just absolutely retain that ego into their 20s. If someone says like, "Oh, you're so good at video games, you're so good at your challenger or your high elo," I'd be like, "Thanks." Like it wouldn't mean anything to me because I know how little it fucking actually means compared to like maybe some of the soft skills that I've developed, right? Not even like the hard skills. Because like I know this sounds really weird and very like hater-y. Definitely, I'm definitely a big hater, dude. Fuck yeah. um, but I genuinely think one of the best things you can do for like a young kid who's challenger and like famous is to not say anything that lets it get to their head. Like when's the last time you've met a kid that was 16 that wasn't insecure about something? Do you really want to stoke that flame? Like you might think that validating them is helping them, and it probably could. It probably could, right? Especially if you're being nice and like they're your close friend or something. But please do not put any young kid on a pedestal from a distance. Like just don't do that parasocial shit ever. You can be a fan of like some 17-year-old kid who's really good at video games. You can be a fan. You should do that, maybe, right? But don't like go out of your way to like donate them money and be like, you're the fucking best, bro. Just don't say that shit, okay? Just donate the money. Don't say the other part. I would err on the side of caution because that's kind of what happened to me. I got way too many compliments. And maybe I'm just like the biggest fucking narcissist on earth. Sure. But, I don't think so. I think I was just any random kid that ended up getting challenger at a young age because I spent more than 12 hours every day pretty much playing. Of course I would have gotten challenger. Who wouldn't get challenger after playing 12 fucking hours and trying that hard and having built up the skills to like learning how to learn? It was, I would argue, it was expected of me to get to challenger. If I'm investing that much of my life, what the fuck are you doing if you're not challenger at that point? You know what I mean? I'm sorry if people feel offended by this. You probably play a lot more casually than I did, I'll be honest. You might think that you played to improve, but no, you didn't. You really didn't. Because I think anyone could get fucking challenger. Anyone with that amount of time, with those few responsibilities. Like you don't have to pay bills when you're like 14 or 15. You don't have to fucking do that. Like what the fuck do you care about? Ninth grade homework to a ninth grader is like nothing, right? 11th grade homework to an 11th grader might mean a lot more, but yeah. Oh shit, don't even get me started on that one, dude. Like there's so many fucking kids that were like, I have a 4.0 GPA and I'm a challenger. I'm like, please no one say anything good about this. It's gonna get to their head. And it fucking does, dude. Oh my god, I hated that shit. I hated that shit. I wish no one said that shit to me when I was younger. It developed me in like such a bad way. So hopefully that's like a decent way of answering your question. I I feel like I didn't qualify what I said properly, and I think people will come away from this thinking the wrong thing about me. I want to be very clear that it is actually very impressive for people to achieve these things at a young age. I'm I'm more focused on making sure that person does not ever feel like they have to live up to a certain expectation that they set early. And there's a term for this. It was like the genius kid issue or something, where like you get propped up as like this absolute talent, as this genius when you're a child, very precocious, whatever. And that forms an expectation in your mind that you'll never be able to live up to, because it's just impossible. Because when you hit like 18, 19, 20, and you got to go to university or like the real world, and you don't just like automatically excel, like you're gonna get fucked. If kids are led to believe that talent is like their foremost thing, and that's like not like largely a luck thing or maybe like a circumstance thing, you know, if they think it's like, oh shit, they're God's gift to like whatever activity, that's bad. So I'm very interested in not letting that happen for the kids' sake. You know, not just to be a hater. Yeah, I'm a fucking hater, but you know, I again, I've seen too many of these people. I'm like, dude, you got set up for failure, man. You got basically told like, don't care much about hard work. Care more about the fact that you might be talented at this thing right now, and like let that get to your head. So many people have just been like fucking destroyed by the system, whether it's games or school or otherwise. Okay, so I'm talking a little bit more broadly. Um, I hope that's a better way of explaining where I'm coming from. Where it's like, if I had a kid and they were challenger at 14, I'd say, good job, yeah, buddy, you're good. But I need you to balance your life a little bit more. You're going to be riding this high. You know, you're really good at this thing. But assuming that, you know, they got to that position by sacrificing other things like I did, I'd rather they focus on that. Now, if they didn't, if they're just naturally talented and they got to challenger in like a fucking year and they're like 14 and they're doing really well at school, my next goal would be to not let that just sit there and develop the biggest head ever. Okay? It wouldn't be like crushing their ego every day like you're worthless. I wouldn't say that. You know, I just, the moment I see anything come out from them, maybe they act like they're better, maybe they treat other people differently because of these achievements, I would put them right back in line, immediately back in line. You know what I mean? I just say anything like whatever my son's name, I'll just call him Champ. Hey Champ, why are you acting like that, right? Like what makes you think that you can treat other people like that? And they probably say some shit like, oh, because I'm really good at video games, I'm really good at this, I'm smarter than them. It's like, sure, absolutely. So then I get to treat you like that then, right? Like, you know, it's like, you know, just, you want to put these kids back in fucking line, because it's going to hurt them a lot more in the long run, from what I've observed, if they don't. That's how we get some of the streamers that we have today that are just, oh my god, dude, they needed to get called out when they're younger. Holy fuck, dude, Jesus. And I got called out so often, dude. So if you think I've got an ego, oh my god, dude, how much worse could it have been if I didn't have mentors putting me right back in line? It's like, yeah, dude, I'm no better than any of you guys just because I have this channel or this job or whatever. I truly don't think that. If you come at me, if you instigate at me, fuck it, dude. I'm down to, you know, fight back. But I'm never gonna sit there and think like, yeah, you know what, you know, I should just be able to talk to you like a, you know, you're like a piece of shit, right? I don't instigate with you guys. I want you to understand this. I don't instigate with you guys personally, right? I might say broad things. If you have an issue with that, you can respond to those sort of things. But if you take a personal jab at me right away, it's like, oh shit, okay, we want to do one of these. I'll try to read what you're saying, parse through, and see if it's in good faith. But yeah, more often than not, people are just like immediately jumping at me, and so I don't do a good job of representing what I just said, because I like to fight back. So I guess I gotta mature on that front and just be like, yo, I hear you, I get it. I'm maybe responding to me coming off as a piece of shit, or maybe just being a piece of shit. I get it. But hey, you're being a piece of shit. Why don't we just calm down and like actually talk? I could probably do that better, but on the scale of like YouTube comments, nah. So yeah. So basically, becoming famous at a young age, any degree of fame that I have, whatever it has most definitely affected me negatively. But it's been very positive too, like extremely positive. It's honestly been like a communal parenting thing. Like I've just been taught by the tens of thousands of interactions that, whether I'm right or wrong or whatever, that I've had to endure really, on the internet, just fucking forged by this. And I had like, it's kind of like the heat for you know, an ingot or like a bar of steel or whatever. And like, the thing that forms me into a shape would be my mentors, right? The people ahead of me, box or Hazendong, or my guidance counselor, my parents, or otherwise. So it's a combination of like heating up the metal, gets me malleable, gets me ready to change into whatever it might be. And then I got sharpened into a katana, let's say, right? Like, if that's kind of a bit much, but into something that isn't just a pile of shit, thankfully, I'd like to think. um so yeah, it was negative, but you know I think net positive. Net positive, I'd like to believe that. Okay, from Bilson Jeffries. Two questions. Did you ever try to go pro in Summer's Rift? How close were you? Yes. When I was 15, I was on a team and I couldn't play because you had to be at least 17 to play in the North American Academy League, or whatever the fuck it was back then. And so 16, I started streaming. And when I hit 17, they changed the rule to be 16. And I'm like, wow, I feel like I lost a year there. And I was already streaming. So I'm like, fuck this pro thing. I played some OQs at the behest of my teammates or my friends in like 2021 or 2022. I didn't get that far, but I didn't care for that. I made so much more money than like the average amateur player or even the pro actually. That I'm like, why would I ever go pro? I'm working at Google. Why would I go back down to? Actually, that'd be kind of rude to say. Let's just go with the abstract. Like, why would I want to go back down? You know what I mean? Like, I'm already here. Why? My hours are better. My job stability is arguably better. Ironically, because content creation versus pro, we're kind of in the same boat. You get fizzled out immediately. Um, yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't ever want to go pro. I do not recommend pro for anyone at all. What is Vayne's best item and augments in arena? Probably Reaper's Toll, just to make sure you're getting a lot of your on hits with your W and stuff. Like, it kind of lines up with what you want to do to begin with. You might even want reverb in that case. Reverb might be your crazy one. You can E and get the triple tap on W, which is not the craziest part, but it's the fact that you can scale a stat you already want, which is attack speed, into survivability, which is more health, and it gives you it gets you off base resistances, like your armor and MR. Because Vayne already wins in an extended trade with the sheer amount of like percent damage that she has, and so by living longer, you can't really improve your W damage other than hitting more Ws, like maybe, on hit interactions. So you might as well just take some survivability, and that would probably be your best item. And then you can fill up on legendary items like Winsus and stuff. Yeah, that's probably what I would do. For augments, dual wield, Fan the Hammer might just be better than dual wield with the bursty nature, because you could get like at least two directions. And with how it works now, where you get the infinitely stacking, it is kind of nuts because you can do the hit and run. Dual wield requires a little bit more of an investment to get more over time, but Fend the Hammer requires you to hit once. If you just hit once and then run, you're already like giga value, So that definitely falls in line with how Vayne would want to play. Vayne can scrap and do like the high APM, like dodge, 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 and keep hitting with dual wield. But the arguably easier and maybe even more effective over time with 3 targets would be Fend the Hammer. And then Shadowrunner is really good, both the roll and coming out of stealth, so you can maintain that. Now You See Me is maybe just her best augment ever, okay? Considering the fact that if you're getting that silver, other people are getting silvers. That silver is better for you than other silvers would be for others, maybe other than Stack of Swords. While Fend the Hammer means that opponents will also get prismatics, so you're playing against 3 prismatics. Maybe your teammates have defenses for you, but like one Fend the Hammer is not going to beat like a Jeweled Gauntlet Victor with, I don't know, other BIS augments or really strong prismatic augments on others. So yeah. Okay, the last one is from TB. Favorite TV show and movie? Ooh, I like Narcos, Peaky Blinders. I like Foundation a lot. I watched that recently. For movie, recency bias a little bit, but Project Hail Mary was a good one. Interstellar is good. I love Social Network. Just fun to listen to. Coherence is an amazing one. Scary. Go watch that one. Um, yeah. Okay, that's it. Thanks for coming. And if you guys want to do an additional AMA, you can ask me more questions at the bottom of this video. But again, it's a privilege to be able to tap into anyone's brain like this. You're not entitled to it. I offered because I thought it might be interesting, and I just wanted to see what kind of engagement we would get. So, don't be parasocial. I hope you enjoyed the past hour and 14 of background noise. And that's it for me. I will see you guys on my videos. Peace.